I didn't expect it to make a difference. I was like, ooh, stationery. I
Yeah,
like
same.
stationery. I like writing stuff down. I will try this out, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, this stuff is actually helping my I feel more relaxed. I already came into the community feeling relaxed because I had my yoga routine. I had all these other things in place and I wasn't as stressed of a person. I wasn't like coming into it like super stressed out. I
Yeah.
already did a lot of things and I had like my vitamins and all that stuff. I was already in a good place. And then all of a
I
sudden I
was
added
taking my
planning.
vitamins.
Yeah, I was and then all of a sudden I add planning and a planning routine and then it got that much better. And I'm like, I can't
I
believe it.
believe it.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Creating Self-Care Plans podcast. My name is Lauren and I'm joined today by my little sister Lex. Say hello.
Hello there. Hello.
I thought you were gonna do like Mrs. Doubtfire, be like, hello.
You know me so well. What the heck? Oh my God. I was totally going to go for it. And then I was like, let me tone it down a
See,
little bit.
I called it. I called it. Oh man.
Oh my God. Both you.
Because we've been around you too much. We know
Mhm.
better.
Y'all know exactly what's coming next. I am predictable as hell. I'm so
Uh,
predictable, probably because of my routines. I routinely
Probably.
throw out silly things.
And that's what today's episode is going to be about. We want to talk a little bit about like planning routines, life routines, all the routines. We'll share ours, what works, what doesn't work. I think even though we are sisters, I think that we both approach routines differently, which is kind of weird because growing up, I feel like the only routines displayed by our parents were like a set bedtime and
Mm.
like showering before we go to bed. That was like literally it with routines. I don't feel like we had any other kind of like, well, other than dinner time. Dinner time was always like as soon as my
Pretty
dad came
consistent.
home. So that was
Yeah.
always like maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock, depending on what time he'd get home. But other than that, like I didn't see them do like a routine because our parents don't work out, sadly. So like I didn't see them go and like every day wake up and do the same thing in the morning, like go for a run like some people do, that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, or
I
journal
mean,
or read. Like I never really
I think that well, I never saw any self-care routines with mama
yeah.
and daddy. I never saw self-care routines, but I did see routines, I guess with daddy, like his morning routine. I already knew when cuz I was the last one out of the house. So at one point it was just me and them, right?
Yeah.
And in the morning he would he would wake me up in the morning and our other sister remembers this too. He would walk in, or not, he wouldn't walk in the room, but he would open the door, he would turn on the light, like, "Get up, time to go to school." I hated it. Oh my God. But it was his routine. He would get
Mm,
up, take a shower, and I eventually started to notice what his actual like morning routine was. He'd wake up, I didn't hear him. He'd go in the shower, he takes a shower, he gets dressed, he comes out, he turns on the light, he wakes us up, he makes his coffee. Um, he makes sure that we're good, and then he would take us to the bus stop, and then that was it. So like his morning routine is wake up, shower, coffee, get something in his stomach, and then he's out the door.
yeah.
So that was I think the only routine that I really saw growing up. And I guess I never noticed any of the other ones. Like now that you think about it, like dinner was at a consistent time, bedtime was consistent. We showered, we went to bed. Now that I think about it, like those routines were definitely there. But as far as like watching somebody do a routine, I think daddy's morning routine is really all that I saw or that I noticed.
I
Which
know that
isn't like what like I'm not trying to like shit on routines. Like your routine is your routine. Like whatever you got to do in the morning
right.
to get yourself ready and prepare yourself for the day, like that's your routine.
Yeah.
That's if that's what gets you in the zone, then do it. Routines don't have to be all about self-care. You can also do self-care while you're already doing an already established routine, you know?
Yeah. Definitely.
And then yeah, I'll get into that later though.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing that self-care like wise, I identify this as like self-care because he has told us that that's what it is. He would sometimes after work, and that's how we knew if he had like a little bit of a stressful day, or maybe the week has like caught up to him and it was really stressful, he wouldn't come straight into the house. He would stay outside and take care of like plants and things in the yard. And that would kind of help him reset and almost be like a in between break from work mode to like being at home and relaxing. And he would almost it's like I think it's, like, similar to what I do with, like, my afternoon resets where, like, I've had this chunk of time in the morning, and then now I have to pick up my kids in the afternoon, so I use that car line, that transition in between to
Oh, yeah.
kind of, like, decompress what happened in the day so far and prepare myself for what's gonna happen later, so I think that's kind of, like, what he did with, like,
Yeah.
being outside and with the garden was to help him kind of
Sometimes you
just.
need that transition.
Oh, yeah, for
But wait,
sure.
this was daddy?
Yeah,
Oh, I never knew that. That makes a lot of sense now.
yeah,
That makes sense. That's definitely something he would do.
yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you need that transition, like going into something, like going from one spot to another spot, especially if you're what's the word I'm looking for? Like if you're sensitive to energy, gosh, I hate going to the grocery store just because everybody's got their own problems. And like I feel everything. I go to the grocery store with headphones, not these headphones, but I'll bring like my little headphones just so I could
Yeah.
like listen to something else and distract myself from, all these people walking around. Jeez. Anyways, like going from one spot, like a grocery store, to like a school or something. Like, hey, I need to like decompress everything that just happened at this grocery store or wherever it is, like at college or something, wherever you just were at work, get your mind off of where you just were,
Mhm.
wash that energy off of you, or at least like try to forget about it and then go on to the next place with a fresh set of eyes because you don't want to bring whatever energy that you had from the other place. You don't want to bring that to the new place
Right.
because it's a completely different place and it's for completely different experiences. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
like, having that transition kind of gets you prepared for where you're going next,
Yeah. There's this
And
there was a saying, I don't remember when I first came across it, but it's like being responsible for the energy you bring into a room. And I
mm,
think even for people who aren't energy sensitive or don't consider themselves empaths or that kind of thing, or like, what the hell are y'all are talking about? We all sometimes will have those moments where you just feel off after having been somewhere. And that's probably your cue that you picked up something from somebody else maybe, and you just
yep.
need a minute to kind of just
Mhm,
digest it and just before you step into the next space, before you bring
yep.
that into the next room. And that's probably a really good practice to build into your routine is to like have a habit of taking a couple of moments between completely different things. Like when you're at work, the transition between work and home, usually there's a commute. Maybe use that
Mhm,
commute time to kinda decompress, and then
yeah.
even when you get home, maybe you need to decompress even more before you just, like, dive into, all
Yep.
the things. Like, I'm like my mom, and our mom does not like coming home from work to a disaster in the house, and
Oh, yeah.
if I've been out all day doing errands and stuff and my kids have been home, the older ones, of course, I don't abandon my little kids, um, The I'll tell them, like, "Make sure this is clean when I get back," because the last thing I need is to be out all day running errands and experiencing all these interactions, and also, like, I'm empathic too, so I'm pulling in that stuff, so when I get home, I'm usually really tired, and it annoys me sometimes, not all the time. The times that it annoys me most will be the times where I picked up more, like, negative than I
Yep.
probably should have, so and then I'm like, "You guys didn't do the dishes like I said, and everything's exactly where it was, and da, da, da," like, "What the heck?"
Boom, all
So
hell breaks loose.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Well, I don't know, not anymore because 'cause you've been doing so much yoga, I can't imagine you, like, going off anymore.
okay,
Well, okay, I've seen it,
hold
I've
up.
seen it. I've seen you go off, and it
Yes.
looks and it sounds very similar to how you used to go off back in the day, but it is still very different.
Okay.
I'll
Yeah,
say that. I'll say that.
yeah.
It's different now when you go
Um,
off.
yeah. I feel like when I do, I come off of it, but this past week, it's been a lot like, I've been PMSing hard this month, and
Ooh.
I don't usually have mood swings like this during my cycles. I know for a lot of women, that is the case, that, you know, about a week, maybe even 2 weeks before it's coming, like, you start getting annoyed for no reason, and that's kind of been the case for me this cycle, where I'm just, like, all of a sudden just annoyed for no reason, and I'm just like, this is definitely what that's from, and I'm not even gonna, like, be mad about it because I know that's exactly what it is. Clearly, I did
Yeah.
something most likely it's diet related. I probably had too much sugar last month, too many cookies, too many chocolate chip cookies, and
Yeah,
that
that's
just
my problem right now.
that threw it all off.
Too much of that. Okay, so this is why I think it's important to have routines, right? Exactly like what you said, because sometimes life happens, right? You're PMSing all of a sudden, and or at least you're having mood swings with your PMS, right? You're having these mood
Right,
swings that you usually don't have. This is where I think like routines could totally come into play, because if you have certain routines where it's not necessarily all about you, but if you just treat it like a process, if you treat it like a process, then it could totally work out in your favor, especially if you're someone that is, like you, like me, you're an empath, you need that break, but you're so busy, you're going from here to there or whatever. Like I said, like it's easy to add on like to a routine than it is to take away. So like with you, you go from like to go to pick up the kids, right? When you go to pick up the kids, that's your in between time. It's already part of your routine. You're
yep,
already in the car, you're already about to go get them. You just added something to your routine to help you transition from one part of the day to the next part of the day. That way you
yep,
can tackle your next part of the day with everything that you got,
yep,
So like
mhm,
adding something into your routine is way easier than taking something out. So if you're already going to be driving here, or if you're already going to be transitioning from work to home, and you need to decompress from work, find something that is already in your routine. Like if it's a long drive, I don't know, listen to listen to a great podcast on the way home or something like that to help you, decompress, or listen to music that just puts you in a good mood no matter what, or use like some breathing techniques while you're driving, something like that. And if it's not a long commute, just do something before you walk into the house.
I think if it's
Or
not long, I think if it's, like, 10 minutes or less, I would, like, not listen to anything, honestly,
yeah,
because sometimes you just
that's not
need
enough time.
silence. Sometimes you just need silence, and
I feel that.
I think if you can dude, if you are not used to having silence and you try and do 5, 10 minutes of silence, that's gonna feel like an eternity.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Find a spot when you already have silence, like when you're in the shower. Bruh, I have changed the way this is gonna sound weird. I've changed the way that I take a shower. I've said this I've said this already, at least I think so. But every time I'm in the shower, like I clear my mind, right? And that's a normal routine for me. It's a normal routine. I'm already going to take a shower before I go to work because I take shower in the morning now. When we were kids, it was different. So my rebellious mindset is I'm going to shower in the morning. Okay. So I shower in the mornings. That's my routine. But my what I added was some self-talk, right? When I'm in the shower. I got this. I feel great today. Today's going to be a good day. I'm in control of my own energy, and I'm in control of my own destiny. And I just like hype myself up, and then I get out the
Yeah.
shower, and sometimes if I really feel like it, I don't know if anybody else feels like this, but if like stuff is going on and then you just start to feel tense, you just want to jump up and down and just let it out, you just want to do something, like physically, you want to do jumping jacks or like do push-ups, you just feel like you need to do something. I don't know if anybody else feels like that, but sometimes I feel like that. And if I get like that, like if I pump myself up when I'm in the shower and I get out the shower and I feel like that, I will literally like jump up and down
Is
and
it like
like
an excited energy?
do
Is that
some
what
of
you're talking
these.
about? Like, because you're all
Yeah, it's
excited and hyped?
excited.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
People
"Oh,
do that
yeah,
all
I'm
the
ready
time.
to go now. Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah."
yeah,
Yeah, I don't
yeah.
know how else to describe it, but, like, I'll literally jump up and down and be like, "Yeah, freaking got this, you know? I mean, it may sound strange, I don't do it every day. I've done it a few times, hyping myself if I help hyping myself up in the shower, but adding something to your routine can just make a big difference in your day. Because I would, take a shower, go to work. I'm like, man, I don't want to be here. Man, this sucks. But if you just have a moment to
You
transition
decided to
from
be
like,
more intentional with your shower
exactly,
time and decided, "You know what?
exactly.
I could use this to, like, mentally prepare myself and set myself up for a great day." And all those things that you do and that you say to yourself are, like, basically helping you manifest a good day. It puts you in a good mood, so you start with a good headspace
Yep.
versus stubbing your toe out of bed and all day is like, "Oh, this sucks," you know?
Yep. Nope.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. Now it is part of my morning routine, and it helps me like throughout the day. But, like I said, life happens. Sometimes you just got to throw something else in there, to make you feel better. Throw something else into what you're already doing, to be like productive, to just like take care of yourself. You know, it could be self-talk, it could be listening to music, it could be a quick little dance break. Dance breaks are where it's at, especially when I'm home alone by myself and I am studying. I will take dance breaks. I ain't got no shame.
Music is yeah, I always forget how music can quickly, like, improve your mood, and sometimes, yeah, I'm just, like, not in a good mood, and then I'll randomly remember, like, "Hey," like, I'll listen to a song, and then all of a sudden I'm in a better mood, and then I'll be like, "Oh, yeah, duh." Like, I need to, like,
Dude.
be better about remembering. I almost need to put, like, a sticky note somewhere and be like, "Play good music." Like, that way some people start
Ah,
their day like that. They'll start their day listening to, like, really good music in the morning. They'll have, like, a ringtone, I guess, that's, like, their favorite song or something to wake them up, and that sounds cool to me. What about, I know you talked about showering in the morning, so do you then, like obviously, after you're dressed and everything, before you start going into well, maybe after you make your coffee, do you sit down and look at your plans for the day? Like, you have some kind of planning routine?
so for my planning routine, I wait until I get to work because I used to be the type of person where if I'm not at work, my mind is still at work. But I've changed the mindset
Wait,
where
used to be the person where if you're not at work,
my
your
mind is
mind
still
is
at
still
work.
at work.
So I would
Okay,
look at my stuff before I'm even at work, or
gotcha.
I would think about
So
what I got going on for the day
so
before I even get to work.
okay, so I'm guessing you're leaving your planner at work because you don't wanna think about work when you're at home.
Right. My work
Gotcha,
planner is at work. I
that
think
makes
about work
sense.
when I'm at work. When I'm home, I don't think about work. I don't do that anymore.
That makes
Um,
sense.
it was not good for my mental health. So
No, yeah, for sure.
I decided to just cut it out. But yeah, I wait until I get to work. I go into the office, I set up my computer, and then I open up my dashboard. I look at my calendar for that I have for the day. I look at what I have for the day, and then I open up my notebook for work. I have a notebook for work, and then I look at any notes that I have on there, and then I get ready for a Zoom meeting because we have a Zoom meeting like maybe 30 minutes after I get in. So I kind of look at everything, make sure that I got everything going on for the day. I kind of like think about when I'm going to do lunch because sometimes I'll have clients come in at around that time. So I'll try to plan slash gauge when I'm going to stuff my face, and then I go on to the Zoom call. So I definitely prepare myself when I get into work. I
Yeah.
don't just jump straight into things like, "Oh yeah, I got to do this, I got to do that." Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nope. I sit down, I look at my calendar, I look at what I got, and I say, "Okay, I'm gonna tackle this, this, and this before this time, and then by this time, I should be about here." And if I'm not,
Yeah.
that's cool because then I got like 2 more hours before I got to leave. So that's my routine whenever I come into work. When I come into work, I sit and I look at what I got, and it just helps me put all the pieces together before I try to grab the pieces and put it where it goes. You know what I mean? Like I put it
Mhm.
together first and then I tackle it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know that I didn't plan for a while because kids, and I pretty much felt like I didn't have anything to plan for. So when I came back to planning and discovered that sitting down and obviously I had like a monthly calendar. At one point, we had this ginormous one in the laundry room, which leads to our garage. And It had all the schedules for all the soccer games for the kids or any other school related things or doctor's appointments or anything, like it would go there. So I obviously had a planner in the sense I had like a monthly calendar. So I was keeping things in a place where it's like, okay, I can look at and see what all is happening. But I didn't realize how overwhelming that was to look at
Mm.
and not like break down on a weekly level until I started using a planner again and getting into like a weekly planner where what I'll do is when the I don't do it on Mondays. I usually do it on Thursdays the week before. I'll sit down and look at my monthly view because that's where everything is. Pull out the stuff that's just this week and I'll plug it into my weekly plan for the week. That way, throughout the week, that's the page I'm looking at, and I'm not looking at the whole monthly calendar. I'm only looking
Good
at
for you.
this week. And just that change alone made such a difference in my brain because
I bet.
looking at the monthly calendar and seeing like this, because the monthly calendar boxes are like this big
Mhm.
and they're just like a small little
What
square.
the heck I'm gonna do in that little box?
You can only put so much in there and it makes you feel like the entire day is gone because you've got this one activity that, because your handwriting's huge, like it takes up the whole
Mhm.
thing. So it feels like it's taking up the whole day when in reality it's not. And so
Taking up like 30 minutes.
in my mind, I'm looking at it and I feel like I'm anxious because I'm like, "Oh, I have this appointment on this day and it's like gonna take up my whole day and I'm not gonna have
Mm.
anything else. I'm not gonna have time to do anything else." That's how it used to feel for
Feel.
me. And
Yeah, I believe
then
it.
yeah, and then once I started doing a weekly planner and I started seeing like, especially when I got into daily planning also in addition to it. So I'll lay down the week plan so I can see what's happening this week. And then
Mm.
every single day I'll sit down, pull out only what's happening that day. And on the daily page, I'll have an hourly section and a to-do list section. And I'll plug in, the timed commitments. And I might plug in like this is when I'm gonna have breakfast, this is when I'm gonna have lunch, this is when dinner, this is when bedtime is. And then you could see all these gaps in it. It's like, oh look, I can do a whole bunch of
Mm.
stuff during this time slot and this time. Like I have a lot more time than it
Yeah.
felt, and that just made the world of difference to my mind. And I think a lot of people would experience a similar thing if you are someone who was like me and was anxious about time in general,
Oh, yeah.
going in. And
That's probably
it
the
was,
best thing that you could do um for yourself if you have a bunch of stuff going on, is just take some time to have a routine where you're going over your routines.
yeah, a routine to go over like your schedule and make sure that you like in the beginning of the day, like look at it, or even sometimes the night before, I might have to look and see what's happening tomorrow. Especially if I'm
Yeah,
starting to feel like I've got a lot I have to do tomorrow, I might write it all down the day before. But
for sure.
that just helps my brain not feel overwhelmed. And
Oh, yeah.
somehow the act of actually writing it down solidifies it. So even if like it's a really busy day, sometimes I might not even look at it the next day, but because I had wrote it down, like I remember a lot of it. Our brains aren't designed to be a notebook. It's not designed to remember
Mm,
all the things. We have to write stuff down. Especially
yep.
as you get older, you can't rely on your mind to remember stuff.
Dang.
You will go crazy. Like seriously. Just do yourself a favor. Even though you say, "Oh, it's fine, I can remember it," just like write it down and just try it out and see how you feel after a week of writing things down that you used to not write down and see how much more relaxed you feel. Because
It
I
made a difference
promise
for me.
you probably will. It made a
Yeah.
huge difference. I didn't expect it to make a difference. I honestly didn't. I didn't expect it to make a difference. I was like, "Ooh, stationery. I
Yeah,
like
same.
stationery. I like writing stuff down. I will try this out," and then all of a sudden I'm like, "Wait a minute. This stuff is
Uh,
actually helping my mental I feel more relaxed." I already came into the community feeling relaxed because I had my yoga routine. I had all these other things in place, and I wasn't as stressed of a person. I wasn't like coming into it like super stressed out. I
yeah.
already did a lot of things and I had like my vitamins and all that stuff. I was already I was already in a good place. And then all of a
I
sudden I
was
added
taking my
planning.
vitamins.
Yeah, I was and then all of a sudden I add planning and a planning routine, and then it got that much better. And I'm like, I can't
I
believe it.
believe it. Yep.
It's
I
crazy.
believe it. So, just in case you guys didn't catch that earlier, Lauren called you guys old. Okay.
I
So
did not.
since we're all getting older,
I did not
listeners,
call anybody old.
let's
Most
start
of the
writing
people
stuff down.
most of the people who are listening to my channel are my age. Okay? So I'm allowed to tell you guys to write stuff down, please. Because I
I
know for
don't know.
me, if my brain is having a hard time remembering stuff, then yours is probably too. So
Girl, I
just
don't know
saying.
though. I mean, don't put me in the same category as you though. I'm
I'm not
not
putting
at
you in that category.
I'm not
We
at 30 yet,
y'all, we're
okay?
gonna I'm gonna send you this video to rewatch in 8 years.
Wait, why?
And then because we're 8 years apart, silly goose.
Oh, I'm stupid. I'm like 8 years, that's a specific number. Why? 8 years, what the heck?
Oh my gosh, you're funny.
Yeah, that went right over my head. Oh, jeez. See? Example, I needed to
Uh,
write something down, okay? I needed to write that down, all right? We were 8 years apart.
Hey,
Okay.
you have an iPhone, you can just go ahead and make an appointment
I
in
probably
your
could.
calendar.
Oh man, I gotta use that more often. I'm more old school just because like the phone is so you always have your phone with you, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of times if I'm somewhere, especially if I'm out and about, I like to be out and about. I don't like to be on my phone or anything like that. So I don't have any like Instagram notifications or like any kind of app notifications. Most of them are turned off, right? So I don't use my phone calendar because if I'm out and about, I don't want a reminder popping up on my phone about school or about work or something like that. I don't want to see it. I'm out and
Yeah,
about. I'm not even thinking about that. Don't don't bug me with this, okay?
right.
So I don't use my phone. I'll use something else.
Yeah.
Which brings me to a question that I wanted to ask you. So you said that the big calendar was making you feel overwhelmed until you switched it to another one. So like a different one, you changed your routine for your schedule, right? Would you say that feeling overwhelmed or because you were feeling overwhelmed with the big calendar, that's what made you rethink how you were doing it and it made you change your process? Or was it just kind of like a whim, like, I'm going to try this? Or did you go
It
based off of
was
your overwhelming feeling?
it was not based on my overwhelming feeling. It was I wanted to do better about being consistent with my blog, and I thought, "Okay, let me buy a planner." And I got a, like, advertisement thing in the mail from Erin Condren, and it was like a picture. If you go to the Erin Condon website, you'll and like just a photo of what you'll see is like a variety of like their products and all the pretty colors and all that stuff. And I instantly was like, "Oh my god, this is so cute!" I'm one of those people who when I go to a bookstore, like I'm obsessed. Like I like looking at all the books and all the stationery. Like I love paper things. I've journaled my whole life, so like I love that kind of stuff. But I never got anything like that in the mail before, so I was like, "Okay," and it was right around the beginning of the year, and it was like a coupon code too, so I held on to it for a couple weeks, and then I finally went and ordered a planner,
Nice.
and my intention was to use it to help me be more consistent with my blog, and that's also coincided with a time when I decided to do my first 30-day yoga challenge. And that planner helped me because with that 30-day yoga challenge, we were given the calendar up front for the whole 30 days. And I printed it out and it had like this is how long the practice is going to be for that first day. This is how long it's going to be the second day and it gave us like the theme of what each day was going to be. So I knew from the very beginning of the month tomorrow's is going to be 5 minutes. The next day is going to be 15. On Sundays, usually, or on Saturdays, those were the longer days for our practice. So I would know ahead of time, I need to make
Mm,
sure I carve out time for those practices because I've already decided I'm going to commit to this 30-day yoga thing. So
Yeah.
having that planner, I was able to map it all out. Like every week I had a section, it was broken down into every day had 3 boxes. So the top box I would use for personal, which is where I would list out the daily yoga practice and how long that was. And
Nice.
then the second box was for my blog, the things that I wanted to do for my blog on that day. And then the third one was like home. And then there's
Hmm.
like a tiny box at the bottom. That's what I use for the kids' soccer schedules or other school event things like that. And
Nice.
the combination of the two things just made it to where I was like, wow, I was able to do something for 30 days. And I'd never done that before. And up until then, I used to think that I was not a routines person, that I was somebody who was anti routine. And that comes from me. I don't like being told what to do, even if I'm the one telling myself what to do. Like, if I were to sit down and be like, this is what you're going to do today at this time, and this is what time you're going to do this, and this, I'm going to be like, immediately no.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I'm immediately no. So I
This is what
thought,
I'm doing today. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go do something else. Let me
exactly.
procrastinate.
Exactly. That's exactly,
I
but
do that.
that whole process, like, changed me in a way where once I was done, where I was getting close to the end, I was like, "I don't wanna stop doing this. I wanna keep doing this every day. I actually like it. Like, I feel different, and I wanted to continue that." And then I even added on another routine of doing, like, meditation for 30 days that next month, and you continue to use the planner to help me with that because that also was
Mhm.
like a structured, here's how much time was this day, this is how much time was gonna be the next day, so I used my planner to help me stay on track. So every day I'd look at it and I'd see, "Oh, look, this is how much time I'm supposed to dedicate to today's yoga and today's meditation," and that helped me get into the habit of, like, yoga and the habit of, like, looking at my planner every day, like, all at once. So, for sure,
Yeah.
like, I I think if you are somebody like me who used to think, like, you can't do routines, you absolutely can. You just need to pick one and just do it, and your brain will, like,
Oh,
encourage you along the way
yeah,
the more you do it.
for sure. Okay, so with routines, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a whole new set of routines. Because you said it earlier, like me and you kind of see routines differently, and now I could see where our routine thought process is different. Because with me, I don't like change. I'll just say it.
Mhm.
I don't like change. And I know that about myself. I know that I don't like change. I know that I don't like, a sudden shift in my routine, a sudden shift in my life. Like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be having cookies right now. We're out of cookies. What am I going to do? And then, my life is over because I don't have cookies, first world problems. But if you, if you think about it as a process, it may be easier to implement something that is helpful for you. Okay. For example, you don't want to do like just up and start yoga all of a sudden, right? You don't want to do that. It's like, that's a little bit too much change for me, right? I don't want to start doing yoga every day. That's just me personally. I don't want to start doing yoga every day. However, I do know that doing hip mobility and shoulder mobility exercises help me feel like I'm 24 again. Okay. That was my best year, 24. All right. But if I do, shoulder mobility stuff and I do hip mobility stuff, that personally works for me. So I fit that into my routine whenever I can because I know it makes me feel better. But like I said, I'm not a creature of change. I'm a creature of habit, right? If I'm sitting down on the couch watching TV, I want to sit down on the couch and watch TV. Okay. Sometimes I do that, right? But if I know that my hips are hurting, my lower back is starting to hurt, if I'm feeling this type of way with my body, that means that I haven't exercised in a while. That means I haven't done mobility training in a while. So I will get up from the couch, I will lay down on the floor, and I will start stretching. And that it's not necessarily a routine per se, but it's something that I add into my already routine, as in sit down on the couch and watch TV with my wife, because we do that every day. It's something that I'm adding into it instead of completely changing. So instead of completely changing my time that I spend with my wife on the couch watching TV, instead of saying, okay, I'm going to take 10 minutes away from that and do yoga, I'm just going to sit down and watch TV until I know that my body is starting to feel a little stiff. And then I'll lay down on the floor and I'm still watching TV. You know, I'm still there being present watching TV with my wife. I'm just stretching on the floor. And she knows she knows now not to ask me what I'm doing, because she's asked me I don't know how many times before. And I'm like, I'm just stretching. Like, that's all I'm doing. So
Yeah.
now she knows, like, man, she's just stretching, you know? So it's nothing out of the ordinary. I'm not necessarily changing up my routine. I'm just adding something to it that is beneficial for me, you
Yeah, I
know?
think
So,
once we figure out that something works good for us when we're in certain instances, not getting hung up on, like, how it looks from the outside is
mm,
important because, like,
that's huge.
we feel like, "Oh, we're supposed to do yoga this way," or, "We're supposed to go to the gym and work out," or, "Dude, you could
Mhm.
totally put on a YouTube video and work out right there in your living room." You
Yep.
know what I've done? I have done cardio where I have put on the Grow with Joe video that I've selected for the day. She's a YouTuber that I like watching her little cardio videos because she doesn't talk during it. She just plays really cool, upbeat, like, workout music, and you follow along, like, the moves that she's doing. I'll put her on, and I'll put her on the screen, and I'll put it, like, on this, like, corner, and then I'll put on a different YouTube video, usually, like, some kind of podcast type thing on
Mm.
the other side, and I'll mute the music and just and pay attention, but I'm listening to the podcast, and I'll stand there and do it. So I'm, like, doing 2 things at once, where it's I really wanna watch that podcast, or I really wanna listen to that and fuel my, like, desire for personal growth, development, that type of thing, but I also
Mhm.
do need to do cardio today, and instead of sitting down and being stationary, might as well stand up and work out and do it at the same time. 'Cause I when I used to have a treadmill, I used to,
Hmm.
like I've watched TV shows while on the treadmill, or I would, like, read my Kindle while on the treadmill.
Yeah.
We think that we have to do, like, one or the other, or we're making sacrifices, that we can't do the things that we like doing when we want to, like, pair it with something else that we know is good for us. Stop worrying about how other people do it or how it should be done. And in Moxie
Yeah.
Life, I use the Moxie Life goal setting system, and they have the saying, "Stop shitting on yourself."
I
I think
like
they
it.
even have a shirt that says that, and I think every time I find myself like, "You should, you should, you should," it's like, "Should says who?" Like,
Mhm.
like, "Should says who?" Like, just do it
Yeah.
the way that you wanted to do it, and when it comes to, like, routines, I think for me, I think if it's not this is a certain time, I almost feel like, and it's probably the case for a lot of people, where it's like we think that the routine means time.
Yeah.
Like, 6 o'clock, this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna wake up, and at, 6:30, I'm gonna do this, and then at 7 o'clock, I'm gonna do this, and, like,
It
that
doesn't have to be like that.
freaks me out. That I cannot
Same.
do that. I cannot do that.
Mhm.
I do better if I have just, like, a list of, like, maybe things that I want to do
Mhm.
in the morning,
And
and
I get
it's
to pick
not
when I do it.
and I get to pick when I do it, exactly.
Yep.
And it doesn't always
I
have
do
to be
better
in the
like that too.
same and it doesn't always have to be in the same order, especially if you're getting started. Just start with whatever routine, whatever order it is that you are doing things now, and
Mhm.
if you wanna do better about, let's say, planning and looking at your day early in the day, do it at the same time as you make your cup of coffee, if that's what you do in the morning. If
Yep.
as soon as you make your cup of coffee, get into the habit of sitting down with your planner and your coffee and do that at the
Yep.
same time. Or if you journal already in the morning, like some people do that, or they do Bible study in the morning, as soon as you're done with that, do the planner. Like, you're already doing something else, it's called habit stacking when you add something that you're already doing
That's what it's
to
called.
that. Yeah. So that's definitely but don't get all hung up on, like, the time thing. I always hear
That
routine and I
stresses
think
me out.
time. And yes, it stresses me out. I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
That stresses me out. I was looking into doing morning routines whenever I was, whenever I was in my funk and I was like, man, I don't want to go to work, but and I've had this happen a few times where even like when I was in the Marine Corps, even when it was that time in my life, I still had those moments where it's, "Well, I don't want to go to work. So I think that it started back then, at least doing the like mindfulness stuff when I was in the shower. I'll call it mindfulness stuff. Yeah, that's all it is. Just hyping myself up in the shower. Yeah, just little mindfulness things. I don't know. Anyways, so when I started adding that into my routine, I started feeling better, right? And then I stopped doing it because I started feeling better, right? But then it started to become a habit, right? Starts to become a habit where now every time I'm in the shower, it doesn't matter what time of day it is. Like I hype myself up when I'm in the shower. Yeah,
Yep,
I'll
you
think
just do
about
it.
stuff, but yeah, I'll just subconsciously like start hyping myself up in the shower. So I always feel amazing when I get out of the shower now because I started years ago to hype myself up whenever I was in the shower. And I liked it so much that now subconsciously, every time I go in the shower, I'm just like my biggest hype man in the shower. Talking about, yeah, you this, like I'm just cheering myself on in the shower for no reason now, even though I already know I got this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's just a habit.
there's this thing that happens in our brain after a period of time of doing the same thing over and over again. We learn cues, and what you did was because you did that so many times, you created a pathway in your brain that says, as soon as I'm in the shower, this is the next activity that happens, or this is what
Yep.
happens. This is what gets paired along with the shower. Just like we all have developed that habit of as soon as we wake up in the morning, other than probably check our phone for a lot of people, you go to the bathroom and you brush your teeth. You do that without even thinking because you pass by like there's a cue that's happening. You're seeing something, there's a pattern.
Yeah. There's a
And
cue.
yeah, so if you feel like it's hard for you to do a certain thing, a certain habit that you're trying to get into, like, the groove with,
Get
um,
rid of the cues.
it's gonna take it's gonna take some time, but you have to, like that's why pairing it with something else, like, if you do what I suggested about pairing your planning with your cup of coffee in the morning, before you know it, your brain is automatically gonna be like, "Coffee equals planning time."
Yep.
So yeah, and then it becomes
That's
like
so
you don't
true.
even have to think about it.
Yep. So with that, I think that it's important to know what kind of routines that we already have. So if you want to establish a good routine, right? If you want to establish something that is going to benefit you or help you in some type of way, say you want to add like some self-care stuff throughout your day because I mean, that's what we talk about, that's what we're here for. Like we want you to take care of yourself, right? So put something in your day that's going to help you take care of you, right? But I think a part of that is understanding that sometimes we already have routines that we are so subconsciously into, we don't even realize it. We don't
Mhm.
even realize that every time we reach for this ends up happening. Or every time I go to the bathroom, I end up checking under the sink for this, even though I know I'm not going to need it. Like I just always check, or I always, well, okay, a good habit to have is like checking the door. So like you lock the door, you open it, or you try to open it, and then you don't, you let it click black. You let it click back. Okay. That's one thing that I do that serves me. I just need to check it, right? But if it's something that doesn't serve you, like every time I go, trying to think of an example. So like say you're trying to stop snacking so much, right, throughout the day. But every time you go to the fridge, you see one thing which makes you think of five different things. So the milk.
Mm.
Milk milk might be a trigger for me. I love milk,
Cereal
okay?
and cookies.
Yes, but milk equals cookies, equals cereal, equals treats, sweets, brownies, all of that. Okay.
Yep.
If I look at milk, I'm thinking about, do I want cookies? You know? So if that is the problem, put the milk in the back of the fridge. That way, whenever you open the fridge, the first thing you're seeing isn't the milk, it's the water that you have. Replace the milk with the water. Okay. That way, whenever you open the fridge, you're not thinking, ooh, snacks would be really good with this milk. Like milk is a
Yeah.
trigger for me. So, just replace it. You have to understand or at least see slash notice the things that you're already doing that aren't serving you, especially if you want to change something or if you want, something better to come out of your routine. Just notice what's already there. Notice what your cues already are. Like, this triggers me to do this. This triggers me to want to smoke. This makes me want to snack. This makes me want to
Yeah.
choke my husband. I don't know. Like just try to notice those things first
Yeah.
and then try to peel back either why you started doing that in the first place, why it served you back in the day, or why you got used to doing it back in the day, and really sit back and think about it and think, these triggers or these habits that I have, are they serving me? And if they're not, figure it out, get rid of it, like slowly start to change or switch out like those triggers, and then switch it for something else, and you'll feel a lot better. That's the main technique that I use whenever like I slow down on vaping. And then
Yeah.
life happens and I'm like which is kind of polar opposite of what you should do, because if you're anxious and you can't breathe, you probably shouldn't smoke, right? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Probably not.
It's counterproductive, isn't it? So don't worry, to all my smokers out there, I feel your pain.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think anytime we wanna make any kind of change in any kind of capacity, or if, just life is just kind of feeling off, or you feel like something needs to happen differently, by starting with taking a look at, like, this is how I go about my day, then you can, like, kind of figure out from there if there's a cause and effect happening. Like, if you're
For
noticing, like,
sure.
whenever I do this, or as soon as I sit down to go watch TV, I'm immediately like, "Ooh, I need to have a snack with me." Or as soon as you name it, you can't identify and decide to make changes until you've realized that something is happening that you don't want to happen anymore, and then you
Hmm.
can try and figure out, what can I do differently about it? What can I do to change
Oh,
this
for
up?
sure.
Yeah, and I think
Yep.
we need to give ourselves some grace and remember that any kind of change, whether it's changing a specific habit, or if you're trying to change up your routines
Yeah.
because you've decided that something has to change, it's going to be difficult because our brain just doesn't like change, period. And it's going to
Oh,
take a
yeah.
little bit of time to adjust. And do not attempt to try and do way too many different changes at once. Start
Yep.
with just one minor tweak and go from there if you want, like, the best success, because otherwise you will feel like a failure if you try and completely overhaul your routine. Like, if you try and completely overhaul your bedtime routine, or your morning routine, or your entire day. Like,
Yeah, don't do that.
if you completely go into the new year and you're like, "Okay, this is what my new routine's gonna be. At this time, I'm gonna do this," and you've never done that at that time before. And then at
That
this
ain't gonna
time, you're
work.
gonna do, like, you're that's way too many changes for your brain to keep up with, and your brain is designed to protect you and keep you alive and keep you safe, and your brain is literally gonna send off alarm bells and cause stress because it thinks that you are in danger of
Yep.
hurting yourself. And that's really the reason why we end up, 3 days into a new year, and all our routines that we set we're no longer following, because
Yep.
we've allowed our brain to convince ourselves that all of that was dangerous. Just one at a time, and then maybe after 30 days, change something different in the routine, or once you feel really comfortable. It doesn't have to necessarily be 30 days, but just don't do it all
Yeah.
at once.
Yeah, definitely not. Just find something that works for you, and like stuff that like you said, like stuff that you're already doing, because we are creatures of habit. I know that. But I know that I'm a creature of habit. And either we do these things out of habit because they help, we do these things out of habit because we're just used to it and that's just the way that things are, or we do things out of habit because it makes you feel good. I mean, which one do you want to do? Which one would you rather be part of? Are you doing habits that are serving you, or are you doing habits that are slowly killing you? Are you doing habit like myself, or are you doing habits that are helping you, that are making you feel good and stuff like that? And I thought of something yesterday that hopefully this clicks with somebody, because I thought it was genius. Life is just so up and down. Life is just so crazy, right? You're doing great at work, you're doing crappy at work, and then all of a sudden everything is great at school, and then everything's stressful at school, or everything is on point every time I go here, but now all of a sudden things are blowing up. Like, life is so up and down. And it's so up and down that at this point, at least since I've been out of the military, things are so up and down outside of military life, that at this point, like, I just want to have fun with my life. Like, I'm not even going to let the highs and the lows bother me anymore. Like, I'm just going to focus on what makes me happy. And part of what makes me happy is my routines that I've established for myself. My routines that help me get through the day, the ones that help me with those highs and lows. Just, you got to take care of yourself, because if you let all of the negative stuff that happens throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, if you let that get to you, bro, like, there's going to be nothing left of you by the end of the week, by the end of the month, because you've given everything and you forgot to give something to yourself. You know, like, those things that you do out of habit, just pay attention to them, because who knows, maybe. And I've realized that doing certain things in certain times of the day stresses me out. Like, I can literally hear my heart pumping. I'm starting to pay attention to those things now. Like, every time I walk into this room, my heart goes like this. Not this room particular, but like a
Right.
different spot. Like, man, every time I go over here, like, my heart goes, like this. Maybe I should stop going to that place, or something like that. You know, just pay attention to how you feel, what you're doing throughout the day, and see if what you're doing is already serving you. And if it's not, if it's stressing you out, then girl or guy, whoever, I call everybody girl now, but girl, you just got to do something for yourself. Like, we're not trying to tell you to change your whole routine. We're not trying to tell you to change everything that you're doing. Like, just start small with adding something in there. Add something in there that is good for you, that makes you feel good, and then go on about your day, girlfriend.
Yeah.
You know?
And only if you want to, only if you feel ready to make a change. Like, if you sit down and like really evaluate your situation and you're just like you're totally content, that's totally fine. Like, there's no
Yeah.
look, okay, we're about to go into a new year. There is no rule. Stop shitting all over yourself. There's no rule that says that you should set goals for the new year and that you should make changes and that you have to make changes. My philosophy around changes is you make changes when changes are necessary. Like,
Boom.
at any point in the year, there ain't no magic.
Princess,
Look,
she popped up. She's like, "Huh?"
there's no magic sauce in January 1st, okay? If
Nope.
if right now we are recording and it is December the 14th, if today you feel like, you know what, I need to change this, and you're over here thinking I can change that in the new year, why not just start changing it right now?
Do it now.
Okay?
Just do it now.
Just do it right now. There's no rule that says you have to wait till the first. And if you totally don't feel like changing anything, then don't change anything. You could be at a place where I am, where I have a lot of really good things in place that I want to continue doing, that I
Mm,
don't want to stop doing, that I need to make sure that I maintain them and I stay
yeah.
on top of them, because I've already figured out over the course of time that if I continue to do these habits and incorporate them into my routines, I feel better and I feel calmer and I'm less stressed and I'm able to handle life better. I've already
Yep.
established that. If at some point that's not working, like, there are some times where life is a little bit more stressful then I might have to add more to it. I might have to add longer yoga practice, or I have to add in a meditation, or I have to add in some tapping. I have to add something, but I know that about myself. And I know that all I have to do is add a little bit more, or think, what have I been doing? Have I been doing too much? Have I been slacking on my routines? Is that the reason why I'm like feeling a little bit more stressed than normal? So it's, there's
Mm.
no like right or wrong way to do it, and there's no like magic in like waiting until the first to change something. If like February comes around and w- all of a sudden I decide, you know what, doing yoga every day is not working. I doubt that. But if all of a sudden I decide that, then
Change it.
then that's what I decided. Then that's what I decide.
Yep.
Or I decide I'm not going to do it at night anymore and I want to switch it to do it in the morning.
Yeah.
Then
There's no
you know,
shame in switching it up. Like, my
there's
routine changes a lot, and it's because sometimes, well, okay, my morning routine, I guess. My morning routine changes a lot. The one thing that is consistent is the shower, okay? But when I get ready in the morning, believe it or not, sometimes I have coffee, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I don't. I really don't want coffee. Monday through Friday, I have coffee maybe 3 times a week. Probably not more than that. Monday through Friday, 3 times. I'll have Tuesday, Thursday, which are my school days. I'll definitely have coffee on those days because I'm here in the mornings. But for like Saturday, Sunday, no caffeine, nothing. I get to the gym. Honestly, I have an energy drink, which is not good for you. But anyways, so like my routine changes,
right.
right?
It's not the
I
same every
sometimes,
single day.
yeah, it's not the same every single day, but it's still essentially the same. So I get up,
Yeah.
I have my shower. If I want coffee, I'll make coffee. If I don't want coffee, I'm not making coffee. I don't force myself to just drink coffee if I don't want coffee. Like, that's
Right.
just stupid. Don't force yourself to do stuff that you don't want to do. Like, nope, nobody likes doing that. Okay. And then, like, sometimes I want coffee, sometimes I want an energy drink. Most of the time I want an energy drink, so then I'll go to the store, I'll grab that, then I go to work, and then I got my work routines. I set out my computer and stuff like that. But don't be afraid to like switch things up. Every now and then I'll go to this coffee shop that sells great coffee, makes great coffee, and they make great breakfast. If I'm like super hungry in the morning, but I also really want coffee, I'll go to the coffee shop, and I'll order some food and then I'll pick it up before I go, to work. Like, don't be afraid to switch things up, because those kind of things make me happy. Like, when I do something new, not really new, but when I do something different, that's
Yeah.
just, ooh, like, this is what I want. Oh, yeah. And I don't usually do this every day. And it's like a treat for
Yeah,
myself,
it's like a treat. Yeah.
yeah, it's like a treat for myself. So, I mean, don't be afraid to switch it up every now and then. Like, you don't have to stick to like a strict routine or something like that. Like, for me, I'm a spontaneous person, so I don't like those kind of routines. I don't like routines that's like, okay, I do this, I do this, I do this, and then I do this, and then I have time to do whatever I want. I don't like that. It's okay. I get up, I take a shower, I hype myself up, and then it's okay, what am I doing today? And I'll look at what I got for today. I'm like, I'll go do this first. Like, meh, I feel like doing this, or I feel like doing this. It's a little bit different, obviously, like when you're going to work, because like you have to go to work. But once I get to work, it's okay. What do I have for the day? Okay, I got this, and this going on, and then you have, your time slots where no matter what, you got this going on at 2, and no matter what, you got this going on at 4. Cool, great, handle it, take care of it. What are you gonna do in between? Have fun. That's what you're gonna do. That's what I do. Freaking have fun. I'm gonna do
I
whatever
think
I want.
I think the biggest takeaway from today's episode, if anything, is hopefully we've changed your mind about routines, because just the word routine feels very structured. And I think being
Yeah.
fluid with it and understanding that you can still be spontaneous and you can still lean into like how you're feeling for the day, and using that to guide your energy, because we all have different energies different day, like what you're actually going to do. You can still do that like how we're doing it, and still have certain things in place that happen on a regular basis. Like, just
Yep.
because things aren't happening at the exact same time every day, that doesn't mean like you failed at your routine. So there, hopefully that helps somebody, because I think that's a lot of people feel like, oh, I can't set a routine, because in their mind they're thinking time structure and like it has to be the exact same thing. Like, you can still have a loose routine, and it doesn't mean that you've failed if somehow you come off of it because life happens and you can't do that yoga practice at the time you originally wanted to do it because there's like a Christmas concert happening. So then you have to adjust and be like, okay, maybe I'll do yoga earlier in the day. You know what I mean? So it doesn't mean you failed at your routine. It just means life happened. You still made time for the things that mattered. That's all that matters. All that matters is as long as you got done in the day, the things that you wanted to get done, the things that you had energy for getting done. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter if you sat down the night before and you had this grand plan of, I want to do all these things. And then you woke up in the morning and forget it. All that motivation that you had the night before is gone. And you're like, dude, like that happens. There's nothing wrong with it. You're not a failure. That doesn't mean you failed at your routines. It doesn't mean routines don't work for you. It doesn't mean you throw out the planner and you just never try again. It just means that you're having a day where you don't have the energy to do it, and that's totally fine. It's okay. It's going to be okay. Yeah.
That's actually really huge.
Yeah. So let us know in the comments what routines you have, if any, if you are going to be making some changes in 2024 on any of your routines. Let us know what your takeaway was in today's episode, and make sure you're subscribed so that you can see the next one. Bye.
Whoop, whoop.